Welcome to the Forward Focus Flashcast, bite-sized episodes designed to give you quick leadership tips that you can take and implement right away. In today's conversation, we're discussing how to maximize your time and really decide, should that meeting have just been an email, or was that really the highest and best use of my time? So you open up your email and you have another meeting request, and you're wondering, as somebody that works in the organization, is this really a meeting that I have to attend? Or maybe you're the leader that sent the request and you know there's some things that need to be discussed or solved. There's some issues that popped up, but you're like, did I invite the right people? And how do I know I invited the right people? You ever been in a meeting? I want you to picture this. You ever been in a meeting where you're sitting at the table and the meeting kicks off, there's no agenda, you don't know what's being discussed, and 15 minutes in, you're zonked out. You're doing emails, you're checking your texts, because two people have been talking for 5 minutes back and forth about a great idea. That's what we need to avoid. So the first thing to think about is, if you think about a topic or a relevant conversation, is, are the appropriate people being invited to a meeting? Secondly, when you think about actually getting the appropriate people to the meeting, an average size meeting that is effective is going to have anywhere from 5 to 7 people. Now, this depends on the size of your organization. This depends on what you're doing, of course. But after you hit that, you go over that 5 to 7 people amount, it becomes basically like a presentation to a group of people, right? If you're going to truly gain input and insight and thoughts and discuss through topics to make your organization or team better, after you have 5 to 7 people in a meeting, if they each just talk 5 minutes at 7 people, that's 35 minutes right there. So you really want to think about 5 to 7 as a rule of thumb. And then lastly, for your getting into a cadence, a rhythm. So here's how you should be structuring your meetings to maximize, after you have who's there and you maximize what you're going to be talking about. An agenda needs to go out. Here's the goal of the meeting. Please bring your thoughts. So here's what you do. You kick off the meeting on time. One thing that drives me absolutely cocoa nuts is when a meeting's supposed to start at 9:30 and it's 9:41 and you still haven't kicked it off. Start on time, end on time, every time. That is critical. You're busy and the people in your organization are busy. And every minute that passes that you go over, you're telling those other individuals on your team that their time isn't as important. Kick it off with each person sharing something good about their business or the project they're working on or their role, and also something personal that was a win over the last week, if you're meeting weekly, for example. When you tell something good, it actually forces every person to speak, and it focuses on reflection. It focuses on you to say, well, what has happened over the last week that's been great? So always start with something good. We're talking 30 seconds each. No one's going on long rants. It's a 5-minute section if you have about 5 to 7 people. Then the next thing is you have somebody update any personnel or project updates or changes that have happened since the last time. So for example, at the end of each meeting, you're going to have a list of to-dos. We're going to get to that in a minute. So you actually at this point say, okay, last week or last month or last quarter, however often you're meeting, we talked about X. Did that happen? Yes or no? We talked about Y. Did that happen? Yes or no? And we talked about Z. Did that happen? Yes or no? And if it didn't happen, it's brought down to a later part of the meeting. If it did happen, it's checked off and it's completed. This holds in and it builds in accountability. Then the next thing that you do is you say, are there any issues or conversations we need to discuss? And this is where people, they don't get into the entire issue and try and solve it. They just simply state the issue. I'll give you an example. Maybe you've had a crack in the sidewalk outside of your building and you had, unfortunately, a client trip over that crack. So the issue would be, last week we had a client that was visiting our property and they tripped. And so the issue would be crack on property, client tripped. What's another issue? Our computer servers went down for 60 minutes over the weekend. We need to look at an upgrade. Computer issues, look at upgrade, right? So you're documenting, you might have 15 issues that pop up. And then what happens is you identify the first 3 that you want to tackle. and you pick an issue and you start discussing. So usually the person who said, hey, the cracked sidewalk issue, all right, tell me what happened. We had somebody show up, they were leaving the building, they had a good meeting with one of their clients, and then all of a sudden we get a text or a call, they had just fallen. So we went out, we investigated, we had to call an ambulance, blah, 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 blah. So that's what happened. Are there any PR things that we need to address? And most importantly, is the person okay? And then also, who do we contact to repair the sidewalk, right? So we just had multiple potential issues from one event that just happened that needs to be addressed. So now you start to create to-dos from the issue. Okay, John, you're going to call the homeowners association. You're going to make sure that we get something scheduled to fix that. In the meantime, John is going to put a sign that says caution. Great. Sally Sue, you're going to put out a press release talking about, we understand that this happened. We are so apologetic. We didn't know the crack was there. Here's what we're doing to fix it. We have condolences to the family. And then, of course, Johnny Smith is going to send flowers in a box of chocolates with a handwritten note signed from the leadership team saying we apologize that this happened. Okay, do we have clear to-dos for everybody? And it's going to be done by when? Friday, end of day. Got it. You mark that off as to-dos and you move on to the next issue, computer servers. What happened with the computers, right? Same exact thing. This is what happened. Here's when it failed. What do we need to do to replicate it? It's a software update and a hardware update, whatever. And you identify what needs to be done. You keep rolling through your to-dos. You always tie a somebody and by when to fix it. And that goes to the bottom of to-dos. Somebody by when to fix it. Once you complete your issues list, you ask the team, are there any other issues that we didn't discuss or that popped up that we have to cover? The first time as you're getting into this habit, you may only get through a handful of issues. You may not get through all the issues on your list, but here's the key. The group selected 3 at a time to focus on. So that tells us that the group thinks these other issues aren't important. Naturally, the time-sensitive or larger issues will come to the top. So what I want you to hear is if you're guessing or trying to come up with an agenda item or what should be on the docket, just ask your people. Get the right people there, schedule the time, and ask when you start the meeting. Start on time every time. And when you end the meeting, you recap your to-dos or any messages that need to go out, and you end the meeting. That is going to help you run a more effective, a more timely, and respectful meeting of all the folks involved. So if you're committed to running more effective meetings for your team, please check out the link in our show notes where you can get a template that you can use and tweak for your organization. If you found value in today's content, please be sure to subscribe to be the leader that you deserve to be. Until next time, lead on.